Hey, David, I would like to change the topic a little bit here based upon your last column for the Times, Who Truly Threatens the Church? I read it with great interest, and my question that I'm about to pose to you has nothing to do with people's faith or their beliefs, the depth of their beliefs, but it is this. The Christian right, Christian nationalists, a lot of them, they've gotten a lot out of the Trump administration. They got some Supreme Court justices that gave them a ruling that should please them and satisfy them, but they seem to want a lot more, increasingly. Right. And I'm wondering about their eyesight when they look at Trump. What do they see? Do they see a good man or a bad man? So my question to you is, what percentage, if any, based upon your knowledge, which is far greater than mine, what percentage of their belief is rooted in gullibility or connivance?
A lot of connivance. So, especially at the elite levels of evangelical activism, here's the thing that they had with Donald Trump. They had access and they had power. And the one thing that Trump was quite shrewd about is that he gave them an enormous amount of access. Spend any time around evangelical activists, especially if they have any following at all, and you'll see that they've got that Oval Office picture with Donald Trump with the thumbs up. He gave them access to that room. He gave them access to power. And then the whole Trumpist ethos is about wielding power. And so here you have an opening for the Christian nationalist, Christian authoritarian type, because they have a kind of mind meld with Trump and their view of power. So I think if you talk to people who have any real experience with the Trump administration, they know who he is, but they know that they can use him to gain a level of access and authority that many other Republican presidents wouldn't give them specifically. And many other Republican presidents don't have the same, or Republican candidates don't have the same authoritarian view of the world. And so they're not going to have that mind meld with these more Christian authoritarian voices.
You know, David, it's interesting. You and I both grew up in similar background, middle class, evangelical church, deep South. I was a Southern Baptist. Not sure if you grew up in the Southern Baptist church, but you know, I could see it in my parents. I could see it in everybody in the church. They rightfully, and I will say rightfully, felt under siege by the tumult of change in the 60s and the 70s. And no, I'm not talking about a racial change, positive change. I'm talking about they saw the sexual revolution. They saw the drug revolution. They saw kids on college campuses burning their draft cards, taking over college campuses, riots. They saw all of this happening and felt under siege. And yes, if you wanted to see how people in the South and evangelicals and Southern conservatives were represented during that time, watch Dukes of Hazzard. That was about it. Or maybe the Southern Sheriff in Live and Let Die. And so so that's what we grew up in. That's what influenced the politics from 1980 beyond. I say all that just for people that didn't grow up with their background to understand it. But now let's turn the page, because this is something that evangelical leaders haven't done. They continue to whine about being the great oppressed when they are more politically connected than ever before. And you can uniquely say this, right? It was always religious freedom's under attack. Religious freedom's under attack. That's all they say. You and I both know, and we had this discussion before Donald Trump, that the United States Supreme Court, before Trump, began granting unprecedented religious freedoms going back a decade or so. And and they're pretending that didn't happen. It's a lie. It's a great lie that they continue to shove down the throat of their parishioners and politicians.
Yeah, I mean, religious freedom is on a historic winning streak at the Supreme Court. It's really pretty breathtaking. And Joe, it's not all 6-3 with the 6 Republican nominees and the 3 Democratic nominees opposed to each other. The most recent case that expanded religious freedom in the workplace was 9-0. And the term before that, which involved a Catholic Adoption Agency, 9-0. I can go through case after case over the years that are 9-0 or 7-2 with supermajorities for religious freedom. And so that argument just really lacks a foundation in law right now, that religious freedom is under mortal threat. And so what's happened is the emphasis in some quarters, not everywhere, but in some quarters on the right, is to emphasize authority, not so much as liberty. In other words, we don't want you to leave us alone. That's liberty. We want to control you. That's authority. And you start to see this in things like the book purges from school libraries, the speech codes passed in Ron DeSantis' Florida through the Stop Woke Act. You see this in the rise of Christian nationalism, where this is religious authority being asserted instead of religious liberty being defended, because quite frankly, religious liberty is legally secure to a degree we've never seen in American history.